All right, welcome to Juve therapy session. This is Friday and we're enjoying ourselves. At least try to, because it is Friday and it's soon weekend. Today with me I have Mason and Daniel, who will be joining us shortly. I'm very pleased to welcome Mason back to Juve therapy. Mason is also the proud writer of Vecchia Signora blog. So please check out his brilliant work. Hi, Mason. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me back.
Sure, anytime, sir. And Juve Daily says hi in the chat already, so he is always present. I don't even think that Juve Daily sleeps. It's always, every time I do a live, he's always there. So, Davide, always a pleasure seeing you around, and also Rohit. Nice to see you, man. We're still waiting for Daniel, but while we wait for Daniel, we need to talk about small matter of whatever happened against Merda. And Mason was one of our guests for the Merda La Panchina watch party. Unfortunately, the disaster, which was the game. And well, basically, we talked this before we started live. Just today we talked about this, but it was nothing during that game, Mason, that we basically worth mentioning, worth uploading for the world to see, because we basically talked about completely different things. We didn't even watch the game because it was that bad.
Yeah, there was nothing positive. There was nothing. I tried to do a post match and I just couldn't think of anything other than like Chiesa kind of tried, and Chiellini looked okay.
Yeah.
It was bad.
You can make it two sentences and then that's it. Yeah, that is true. Before there we go. Man of the hour, Daniel is locked on, and drum roll. Oh, hey, there we go.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
How are you? Are doing great and fine. Nice to see you, my man.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Sure, anytime. So Daniel is my nemesis, at least in the fantasy team for the Serie A.
You're killing me right now.
Yes, I am, but I don't know why. Because I have Cristiano Ronaldo as my captain,
and Immobile's helped you too a lot. Those two have killed me.
Oh yeah, there we go. But you have Caputo, don't you?
I did, and then now he's sucked for the past month.
There we go. So, guys, if you don't know who Daniel is a great Juventino. We haven't talked before, but he is fully booked apparently, because yesterday he did a podcast with my friend Alberto from All Juvecast. And today he is here with me and Mason. So, guys, say hi to Mason and Daniel. So, guys, before we start off with some good fun, Mason already I will know about a little bit about your story, how you became a fan and whatever. And Daniel, we'll get back to you just shortly. But Mason, your floor is yours, because I want you to show me what you have on the wall. You're printing it out.
Yeah.
Please show it to the world.
Let me see. Can you see it?
Oh yes, we do.
Yeah, I was thinking I might make some stickers or some mugs for my merch section.
Oh, that's freaking funny, man. I love this. And well, Supercoppa. If you didn't see what that was, it was basically Lorenzo Insigne crying his eyes out because Crapoli lost, which was very, very funny. And well, we played the better game, I guess. But let's just go through that real quick before we get to the fun part. Daniel, your quick thoughts on the Supercoppa, and were you surprised that we won?
Honestly, I was a little surprised, but I was expecting a bit of a turnaround performance compared to the one last weekend at Inter. We did not look good at all at anywhere. Attack, midfield, defense all looked a little off. But I thought we played with a lot more.
A little.
Well, a little is being generous, of course. We're trying to keep it professional, right? But yeah, it was a much better performance. Tech made some huge saves, which we all saw, and but it was nice to see they actually played with a little bit of urgency, a little bit of passion. So
yeah, and well, Cristiano at the right time, at the right place, right time as always, and the second goal which Morata scored, that was. It's just so typical us sit back and just, invite the opposition into the game and let them take the reins. But however, there was something different in this match. It always felt like we were playing as a team in defense, which was very, very weird, but good weird, because we don't do that very often. And even Cristiano helped up in defense. And of course, the second goal, which Morata scored, was basically a counterattack. But Mason, Juan Cuadrado, first of all, he started and played the full 90 after being out with COVID for 2 weeks or so. Were you surprised?
He looked better after COVID than before COVID. He looked great. I can't be the only one who thought that. I'm not like super against him as much as other people are. I think that he was kind of put into a bad situation by playing right back. But yeah, I thought he played really well. Defensively, he's just not a defensive-minded player. So we're gonna get what we're gonna get with him. But yeah, I thought he was definitely good at making himself part of the attack, and I was happy with what I saw from him. And I think everybody seemed to be a little bit surprised about his performance.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, by the way, if you're watching this, just smash a like on this video, and of course, come with your questions. That's what we are here for, answering your questions and also having some fun, because we are having fun after crapping on Crapoli, basically. But we do have another game at hand, which is also against Crapoli, funnily enough. We'll see how that goes. But of course, it's always nice to beat the rivals from the south. And even, I don't know, guys, if you saw that, but some Napoli fans were complaining about the penalty kick that Insigne missed. They wanted that to be retaken because Giorgio Chiellini apparently was in the box before Insigne struck the ball, which was very funny that they're still complaining about it. But and we talked about it with Mason also before the live. The rival fans, they just tend to nag on things for weeks. For example, Il Gol di Montari being one of them from 2012, is still in my mentions. Sometimes they are, or at least. But guys, we're gonna do something really, really fun, and I've never done this before. But this is basically a trip down to memory lane, because, well, we are in a situation where we're a bit inconsistent. We don't know which Juve shows up, and that's why we're gonna take a little step back into the past. So I have 5 pictures for you, my friends, and each picture represents something monumental for Juve. Not necessarily always in a good way, but it was a significant moment for Juve. And I want you to tell me your initial thoughts when that particular event happened, okay? It's going to be, maybe you will cry. I hope you won't cry. But let's see if I can find the number 1. Okay, so yes, Davide, we will be going to Locatelli as well. We just need to make this work. Okay, so picture number 1. We'll start with Daniel. When this happened, Mason and Daniel, both of you know what this is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when this is. Yes.
Champions League, Madrid. Yep.
Yeah. When this happened, Daniel, talk me through your thoughts.
When I first, so I'll start off with the penalty that was given. When I first saw that, I thought it was a ridiculous call. Obviously, you see it a few more times and you kind of understand where the ref was coming from. But at that moment, it was just a heartbreaker, especially for Gigi. And you can understand his reaction to that. We all felt the same way. But yeah, that penalty killed us. That one really hurt. I remember that, watching that game live, and I probably screamed. The whole neighborhood probably heard me when I was watching that. But yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, Mason, your thoughts?
Yeah, so wasn't that like in the 90 plus minute when that happened, if I'm thinking correctly?
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
late.
so.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking of, I don't know if you guys ever saw that Netflix documentary that they did about Juve following this season, and they released whatever the first half, like, during the winter break or something. And I remember this was like the big climactic game, and I remember thinking, like, I went back and watched that Netflix show after, and thinking like that it was just such a deviation from the way the story was supposed to play out, like, because it had all the makings for like this great, fantastic comeback.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the Mario Mandzukic goal too was that was in the game before, I think, though, right? But
he scored both. We were up 3-0. So Mandzukic scored 2, and then Matuidi, for some impossible way, made it 3-0. Probably his only goal for you. And then this happened. But this we kind of expected that one sooner or later, because the tactical decisions that Allegri made at that time was a bit questionable. It was Barzagli on to trying to defend the lead, which was 3-0. So he wanted to go to extra time, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, we know the rest. Cristiano banging in with a fantastic penalty and sending us out packing. Yeah, those were the days. Rob says Dan looks like Rodrigo Bentancur.
Really? Okay. Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah, I can see the resemblance though, but it's
the first time I've heard that one. But sure, if you want to be a professional soccer player, I'll take it.
There we go. What do you do for a living, by the way, Daniel?
I'm in health and safety. Very exciting.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Oh, very exciting. Yes.
Yes.
So far from Rodrigo Bentancur.
Very, very far.
No health and no safety whatsoever. Yellow cards flying
in front of his net.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. That was number 1. Let's go to number 2. Yeah. This is gonna be fun. Okay. Your initial thoughts when this happened. Let's start with Mason.
It kind of felt like it was only in the press for like a week that this was happening, and I had heard that he was kind of unhappy at Madrid. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just felt like happened so quickly that it was kind of shock. I was personally actually really excited, honestly, when he signed. I think a lot of us were. But yeah, I just kind of felt like a new thing was coming, like a new era, because that was just, La Liga is just a whole different brand. And I felt like because Ronaldo so encapsulated that for so long that it was almost like, okay, is this going to be a day of reckoning, or is this going to be, a really cool new thing? And also nervous too, because what comes with such a high profile player is a lot of attention, a lot of money too. But yeah, excitement and nervous. Apprehensive, probably.
What do you think, Daniel, when this guy landed at Torino? And well, before this photo, actually, there were photos with both Cristiano and I think Agnelli and Nedved. Even they were like champagning with Cristiano, but this guy arrived in Torino. So yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was like Mason said, it all happened really quickly, and for the first little while, it was like so large, it was almost weird to believe. Like you couldn't believe it until you actually saw him landing and coming out of that plane, ready to sign, ready to make the big move, right? It was an exciting time. I think the fans worldwide definitely, love to see him. Obviously, the Madrid fans were not as happy, but yeah, it was definitely it was quite the interesting and shocking summer move. I don't think anyone had that one picked out.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, Georgina next to him, it's like a whole new level now, huh? Yeah, that was the day, Hassan, indeed. Yeah.
I think I first thought
All right,
about him,
guys.
I had such a negative impression of him in many ways. Like I kind of thought of him as like a total showboater. And looking back now, it's like, oh no, he seems like a really genuinely cool dude. But at the time I was kind of like, oh man, this guy's kind of a little bit too much, too much of a personality.
I think he's kind of changed that as he's gotten older, though. Like especially when he was younger at Man U, he probably had that personality, but maybe with the experience and winning and moving on, he's kind of matured.
Yeah, true. And the fact that he has, well, basically everywhere he has been since Man United, there's been like he was the go-to guy. So now he really, really feels that as well. And Daniel Mick is destroying my ears. It's probably because your microphone, Daniel, is next to your zipper.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Moving on from this. The number 3. Okay. Hi guys, says Forza Juve. Okay, so this is a picture of Mason. Can you guess what this is?
I can tell it's Lichtsteiner.
Indeed.
And
yes.
Yeah, I think this starts from before my true Juventini days, honestly.
This
well, Daniel, reveal.
I want to say it was Parma.
It was indeed. This is the very, very first game at Juventus Stadium, and the very, very first goal.
That's it.
And the start of the era. So when this happened, guys, well, I go to Daniel. First of all, the whole point of this picture is basically that we had our own stadium, which was brand new, and we played in our home, and we scored, and we looked on fire throughout that day. So your thoughts when this happened, and the fact that we got a beautiful stadium.
I think that's the new stadium. It was being like our only home, right? It was a big move for not so like Serie A for sure, but more so Juve to create the atmosphere, to create the funds, to bring fans in. One of the newest, biggest stadiums in Italy. I think this it did help us kind of turn a new leaf into something, a new era. Obviously we would, we still want more trophies and we still want to win more, but I think it's definitely helped out the brand and the, I guess the atmosphere around the club.
Mason, what do you think of the shirts?
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think Allianz, I think it's you said branding, Daniel, and I think that's interesting because there's been so many efforts, especially in Italy, to modernize, and if I'm not mistaken, it's really hard to build a stadium in Italy. There's some extra steps you have to jump through with like the local municipality. I know Roma's been having a lot of trouble. But it's good to see something that's been done in the past like 10 years, and it's had a positive impact. I know like a lot of people hate some of the moves that Juve has made branding wise, but Allianz Stadium has such a positive vibe, and I think everybody thinks really highly of it. It's kind of our own fortress, except for recently. But
yeah. Ali says hi, nice to see you, Ali. Always a pleasure. Adam says that he watches this game every Christmas. Yeah, well, I hope you watch something more as well. But if you have this one on repeat, fine by me. Yeah, it's a nice one. We won 4-1 in the end, and it was I don't remember all the goal scorers, to be honest, but I think it was Lichtsteiner, Marquisio, Vidal, and one more that I cannot remember who that was. And of course, Jovinko scored on penalty for Parma.
Remember him.
Yeah. All right. Moving on from this one. Juve storia di un grande amore indeed. Number 4. This is interesting. Your thoughts when this happened.
Oh, it's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Yes. So Mason, let's start with you. We parted ways with Antonio Conte, and Massimiliano Allegri was appointed. There was riots in Turin, if I'm not mistaken, when this guy was signed. But what were your thoughts when this guy started?
So that started right before I really started following Calcio. So I had like the perspective of time, which a lot of people don't have. And so I think looking back now, I think Allegri, honestly, I was reading recently about the most trophies by manager for Juventus. And I think Allegri has this sort of weird legacy and this weird presence in the history where I think people seem to overlook how big of a contribution he made and how quality of a manager he was. And I think Conte, not really a fan of him, honestly, of course. But yeah, I think Allegri was solidifying the Scudetto run that Conte started. And yeah, I think Allegri gets a bad rap. I think when he left, I thought it was time for him to go too. But I think that I hope that he is remembered more fondly because he really was a really solid manager. It just wasn't the most exciting. And there is an argument to be made that he, kind of left us in a bad situation. But
Daniel, you probably remember when this guy signed.
I do, and I was to be honest with you, I was one of the ones who wasn't a big fan of this move when I first found out he was coming. I understood the whole Conte, why he wanted to leave, why they didn't get along. I had no issues with that. But I remember Allegri being fired from Milan, not having a good season there or a couple seasons there, and then they're bringing in this guy, limited experience, never won. What's he going to give you that someone else, someone with more experience, someone who's winning, can't? I'm not shy to admit I was very wrong on that one. He proved, I think myself and many other Juventini wrong that he was,
yes,
all that, like Mason said, he might have not had the most flashy system or tactics. He got the job done. And that's something we've struggled to do recently since he's left. He's made us a couple Champions League finals, numerous Serie A titles. I think he deserves a lot more credit than he was given, for sure.
Do you think there is an argument to be made that some Juventini that have been criticizing Allegri have been saying that Allegri's team, which he managed, was basically the best in Serie A, even without the coach. So he basically got off very, very easily. His team was the best, and it was very easy for him to coach these champions. Remember, we had Chiellini, Basaglia, Bonucci. We had prime Vidal. We have all sorts of guys, right? I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. Just because, I like this. Look what he did with when Dani Alves came, or Mario Mandzukic, playing them in different positions that they weren't necessarily used to. He still managed to get the best out of them. The only thing I didn't really understand during his era was the whole a big Marquisio supporter. So that the fact that he didn't get as much respect or playing time that he probably deserved was a little shocking. And realistically, we would die to have someone like Marquisio in our midfield now. It just goes to show how deep that squad was. But then again, he managed some great talent, but also he still those are some big personalities that you still had to make everyone mesh in the dressing room, on the pitch, get some good chemistry going, and I thought he really did that for the most part.
Mason, were you surprised that Allegri took us to the Champions League final that early?
No, I think I think, like, bouncing off what Daniel was saying, I think that the moment was kind of right for him, and that, you could say that he had like a great squad that it would be hard to lose with, but at the same time, I think that was a building block for him, and I think that he did. He really easily could have screwed that all up. I mean, there are teams that have amazing players and amazing squad depth that, frankly, just don't play like that, and I think that Allegri definitely deserves credit for that. And and I think his management of certain players has been really good, or was really good, like Mario Mandzukic. I think my only criticism of him would be, like, towards the end, I felt like the last year of Allegri, I felt like he was getting a little bit stuck in his ways, But if you're a manager and you're seeing that many years of success, I don't really blame you for, beginning to have faith in a system that you developed rather than learning as you go as much.
Do you think something happened when Cristiano arrived?
Yeah.
Did that move affected his style of coaching in some way?
I think
there must be a pressure on him to include Cristiano in the plan, and I think every manager since then has inherited that blessing in disguise. In many ways, like, there's so many great things about that, but you can't just not build this team around Ronaldo and have him. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but Daniel, do you think it was maybe one season too late for Allegri? Should he have resigned after, or ended his love affair with Juve, so to speak, after the loss in Cardiff?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Because many Juventini wanted his head when we lost that game.
But then again, do we really blame him for that game? They set up how they did all season. Whatever happened in the change room at halftime or throughout the game, no one really knows the full details. There's blame on him. There's blame on Bonucci and Dybala and all this different rumors. I find it hard to blame him. He did get you, like, he did help get you there. Obviously, the players played and so on and so forth. But I was fine with him staying another year. I think he was one of the managers that, like, we see, it's hard for managers nowadays to finally like stick to a plan but be able to adapt if they need to. And he was one of the top managers to be able to shut everything down when they had a lead. Obviously, it was a risky game, no doubt about that. But when Juve felt when they got the lead, it was almost impossible for them to blow a 1 or 2 goal lead. Now, when they're playing today, it's, you never know, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yes, I agree completely, guys. He surprised me when he arrived, absolutely, and I was in shock when this guy signed, physically in shock. I was like, what is going on? Because we went from Conte, who I thought he was I still think that he's a great motivator, not exactly the great tactical coach. But hi, Sabadip, nice to see you, my man. Just smash some questions to us, my friend. Yes, and Allegri, he came after being sacked, as you said, after Milan. Well, they lost against Sassuolo 4-3, I believe. Well, Berardi scored all 4 goals.
That's right.
And then he was sacked. But he proved everybody wrong, including me. And now, looking back at it, I can't thank him enough for what he did, continuing that domination in Italy. You can always say that the rival fans can always say that, it was so easy to win in Serie A. But if you just split those seasons and look at each season, it's amazing. It's still an accomplishment, because we remember the season where the big comeback season.
Yes.
Right. And the season when Napoli lost the Scudetto, let's say like that, because they were top of the league, and then we went to Merda and actually won against 10 men. So it was yeah. That was an interesting season, that as well. So yes, credit to him, and we move forward to Sarri and now Pirlo. But last last picture before we move on. And I want to know your thoughts when this happened. And this is going to be down the road down to memory lane, as they say. So there we go.
Yeah.
So this is the very first game that Paul Pogba played for us. He played from the start. He played 90 minutes against Chievo, and they won 2-0. I believe it was this is the 2012, and you can see Arturo Vidal before getting all tattooed up in the background there, and the Massimo Carrera, of course. He was deputizing for Conte while Conte was suspended. Mason, let's start with you. Paul Pogba and his introduction to the world, let's say, because let's face it, I mean, he wasn't exactly the star at Man United when he first started there. So he got we basically took him for free, I think, minimal fee, and this began. So yeah, Paul Pogba, Mason.
Yeah, well, obviously, that was before my time as a Juventino, but
when did you start? Yesterday?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm very similar. It was like 2015, 2016. But no, with Paul Pogba, it's interesting because he is this player that I think of like, I can't talk about it without thinking about him possibly coming back, which I'm not particularly into, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's definitely sits in that weird class between, in a way, he kind of reminds me of Dybala, actually, in that he's just got this flash of something so special, yet perhaps hasn't found the consistency of other players like, Kylian Mbappe or something, who are already on their way to being a generational great. But I think Paul Pogba is like one of the most aesthetically like interesting footballers to watch, and I think that his I think he had a great run at Juve, definitely. And I particularly, I don't know, I mean, this is a whole other can of worms, but I'm not particularly interested in having him come back. But that's it's a story for another time, I guess.
Yeah. Daniel, this guy, he first of all, well, he arrived and we barely knew what we signed. We knew nothing about it, and then, well, he just took off. And you can also say that Conte was one of the guys who nurtured him and took him in, but it was actually Allegri who was really molding the player and making him the way that he was. But Paul Pogba, man, tell me about your thoughts when this guy started for us.
Like you said, I didn't really know much about him, and I figured, well, if Man U's letting this guy go for practically nothing, how good is he going to be for us? But then as he played more and as you saw more, you could see that creativity, that raw talent that he possessed, like big, strong, but mobile, creative midfielder that we definitely lack now. But he had a great tenure here. How it ended, I'm just not too fond with how it ended and how he, practically forced his way back to Man U. But he was definitely a great player to have for us and helped us. He was a huge part in some of those Serie A championships. So, like Mason said, I'm actually on the same boat. I wouldn't bring him back either. But that's just my opinion.
Do you think that this is like exception from the rule? Because this is a young guy, starts at Juve and is developed into a world superstar. But we cannot say that about other players recently. Maybe in 10, 15 years, maybe we can say the same thing about, well, Claudio Marchisio. Being the true Juventino, growing up with the club and playing with them. But Paul Pogba probably is the only one that I can think of which isn't Marchisio, who started young and then developed into being a superstar. Do you agree with me, Mason, that the fact that we basically we are not good at developing talent, but this guy is an exception.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question of talent, like youth development in Juventus, is really interesting. Right when you said that, I thought of Ciro Immobile, who
Yes,
obviously was in
yes.
the youth academy. And I think that if Ciro Immobile played in England, he would be considered one of the best strikers right now. Especially like last season, he was phenomenal.
That's
So I
interesting.
think that there's a part that is kind of skewed where people don't necessarily give Serie A as much credit outside of it. So I think Paul Pogba is kind of an anomaly because he's become, like a superstar, like a brand. And I think that is something that you don't often see in Italy. And in addition, you don't often see youth players being developed by Juventus. So it's kind of like this co-occurrence. But I think we really need to improve on our retention of young players and development. But I'm pretty hopeful that Pirlo's actually going to make a big effort for that. I mean,
It
already
looks that
seen
way,
that.
at least that he's a bit more flexible there. Last question before we move on, Daniel. This you guys both mentioned that you don't want this guy back. Daniel, I'm gonna put you in the spotlight. Why?
Mostly because, like, I not that I don't think he's a great player, and I think he would prove a great improvement on our midfield. It's just that, like I mentioned, the way he left, the way he's like, he kind of forced his way back to Man U, how he wanted to go back. He had unfinished business there. This, all that stuff, whether,
he was on holiday in Serie A.
Yes, that's another one. Like, whether he actually meant it the way it came out or how he's meant to say it another way. I don't really know the full details, how, the media could skew some things, but I just think since he left for Man U, you can just see Juve needed him just as much as he needed Juve. I think, he has not been really the same player since he left there, years ago. But for some reason, I do think he's going to return. I do think he's going to come back. Just wouldn't be my top priority to bring him back. I'd rather focus on some younger players that probably would cost you less, and you can improve more areas. But
yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a very good point. So we'll see what happens in the future, because we never know. But right now it's COVID, and we have no money.
Yeah,
that's basically it. All right, guys, let's go into the chat before we start doing something else. So there was a question all the way at the start there from Davide, Juve Daily. Thoughts on Locatelli? Manuel Locatelli playing for Sassuolo is rumored to Juve for 40 million euros, I believe. That's what Sassuolo want. Mason, Locatelli. First of all, what are your thoughts on the player? And then the next question will be, do you think he will fit into the Juve system?
I think he's a great player. I really like him. I think he's the kind of player that we should have our eyes on. Like exactly the fit, young, not super pricey, and somebody who has room to develop, and is a creative midfielder. I think that's exactly what we need to focus on. Forget having a striker for now. We need a midfielder who's good, and I think he's like a great alternative to like Aouar. Somebody with like a little bit more of a price tag. Locatelli would be a good player to focus on. I think the 40 million is a little bit steep, honestly. I think like 30 million would sound a little bit better because of COVID and everything.
No. Daniel, Locatelli arriving at Juve, would that mean that we need to sacrifice somebody in the midfield in order to make this work? And who would that be?
So I've from what I've watched Locatelli quite a lot this year with Italy, with Sassuolo, and I'm a big fan. I think he would help a lot of our midfield issues, whether that's creativity, he's sound defensively, he's big, he's great vision, making a pass. Would that call for someone to be moved? I would think so. For me, I still, when I see Rabiot, I still think he can be better. Just something's not clicking. I don't know if that's maybe his head's not in Juve. He wants to go back to France, whatever it may be. But if he does want to be here, my option would probably be to move on from Ramsey. That would be my pick. mostly just because of his injuries, his age. He's making a lot of money. Like we said, we can move that money to a younger player, someone who is a good another box to box creative guy. Ramsey, when he's on, he's good, but the problem is half the time he's injured, or the other half of the time he's not doing too much, and he's not he's not too good defensively either, which is definitely not his strong suit.
Would you say that this may be something that, considering Bentancur and his failure to improve in terms of discipline and whatnot, should we cash in on Bentancur in order to bring in Locatelli?
I would say just because Bentancur still has the age factor, he's still young, he still can improve. We saw it last year. He was probably our best midfielder last year.
It was.
Argue,
it doesn't say much.
Right. That's another issue. But I think maybe he just needs some more time to kind of get familiar with Pirlo. Maybe he is trying to do too much that he thinks he needs to do. Maybe he needs a complementary player beside him. Like, he was pretty good against Napoli with Artur beside him. Maybe with Locatelli, they could work out together, but then again, I feel like they're kind of similar in that way, and playing them at the same time might not work. But for me, I'd hang on to Bentancur for at least another season, see what he can bring.
Yeah. Interesting. But Locatelli, good thing that Locatelli is an Italian, because Juve likes, at least in the past.
They used to, yeah.
They used to, yes. And this is the interesting thing that I started thinking this week, that the games that really matter for Juve, or for fans, for example, against Merda, the players don't seem to feel that rivalry as much as an Italian would. So if you bring in, for example, Locatelli, like Rovella from Genoa, or somebody who knows this rivalry, somebody who knows what it's like being in Italy and being that passionate. Yeah. Do you think, Mason, let's go to you. Do you think, Mason, that it will kind of ignite something? Locatelli could be that potential, he will restore that Juve, whatever that was. I mean, domination, it's hard to say that it is now, but with Locatelli coming in, he surely knows what it's like playing in Italy and playing for such a passionate crowd. Would that help you reignite that passion as well?
I think so. I mean, I think it's not necessarily just an Italian thing. I think that like Bentancur is a player with who's very passionate in a lot of ways, but that passion isn't adequately channeled. I think, having a player who understands the Derby d'Italia is the biggest game in Italy, and seeing our players go out and act like it was just like a Sunday league game was the most upsetting thing, because of all the days, that's the day that you shouldn't have to explain to them that, okay, you really had to be on today. Yeah. And I think that there are players who are non-Italian, like I think that Morata and McKennie are good examples of players who come in this year who have that kind of spark and tenacity. I think having somebody like Locatelli, I think that would be easier for him to integrate into Juve and to understand the culture of it. And I mean, how old is he? Like 22. So he's grown up in Juve's dominance. So it's not like that's an unfamiliar thing to him. I think any young Italian player would be proud to play for such a club. But yeah.
We'll see. Boniperti Juventino says, hi. Juventus will do everything to sign Pogba and Locatelli in next season. Well, I hope not. Locatelli could be easy, but Pogba, if we're going to burn our both time and money on signing Pogba, it's probably a waste of money. I don't know. There could be a better alternative out there, cheaper alternatives as well. Indeed. All right. So, present day, my friends. Daniel, we started with Andrea Pirlo this season, and it's going inconsistent. That's the word we've been using the whole season. It's inconsistency. we praise the guy on the Wednesday, and then we bash him on the Sunday, and then we are back to praising the guy. And the same thing could be said about players as well. Even Cristiano been criticized even now and then this season because of his inconsistency on the pitch. But I don't know. Were you surprised? First of all, were you surprised that André Pirlo signed for us?
Very, very surprised, just based on his lack of experience and just coming out of coaching school, or whatever you want to call it. It was a big risk, and I think they knew that ahead of time. But people don't want to use the word of rebuild or reshuffling with Ronaldo there. But I think when you have a team that's their age average was probably in the mid-30s, you got to start making moves at some point. You can't have, like we said, we've seen with issues with moving Higuain, Matuidi, Khedira still. Like, if we keep going along that path, it's just going to keep occurring, and then you're going to burn more money that way. So I do. Yes, he has been inconsistent, but I do like what he's done. You can notice some of the changes he has made. When they're on, when the team is flowing and the chemistry's there, they look good. And I think when they've been good this year, they've looked better than they have last year under Sarri altogether. With that, I think if with more experience throughout the year and maybe a couple adjustments in the summer, I think then we'll actually see what Pirlo really wants from his squad.
Mason, the game, we talked a little bit about it already, but Merda against Juve, we lost a disastrous game, embarrassing. You can say what you want, but and then we regroup and we win against Napoli in Supercoppa, a meaningless trophy, but still a trophy. This inconsistent, that's what we're talking about here. We lose against one rival, but then we win against our other rival. Is this all Pirlo inconsistency, or do you think actually this can also be blamed on the players?
I think a bit of both. I mean, in his post-match comments after Merda, he basically said that this was like the worst situation possible, and that he couldn't have expected the players to play worse, and that I think he used the word blip or something, like, whatever the Italian equivalent is, that like that was an absolute disaster and a blip.
Blippo.
Yeah, and that they would be back. So when we won the Supercoppa, it did feel like, okay, maybe there is some sort of truth to that, and maybe that was just this really. I mean, we have played poorly, on and off this season, but that game in particular was, I think, the worst of the season thus far, and him coming out and saying that this was like kind of a happenstance of both him getting schooled by Conte, which I think we all kind of expected, but then also the team totally falling apart. And I think that we can blame Pirlo for not looking great, but then I think there's certain blame falls on our certain long-standing players like Bonucci and stuff. I think really didn't hold it together on the pitch, but I don't think anybody in particular is to blame except everybody.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here, Daniel? We lost, as we said, against Merda, and now we win against Napoli, and then we have Bologna next up. So we have this foundation of redemption or revenge, so to speak, which we had on Wednesday, and now we face Bologna. Are we expecting a new meltdown coming against Bologna, or are we actually onto something right now?
I hope that it's this trophy, this win, like a good team, hard fought win will help motivate these guys to keep, playing along the same way. Again, they weren't perfect against Napoli. Napoli had a couple good chances, but we were solid and Tech was solid when he needed to be. So I think that's definitely something they need to build off. We saw games against Parma, where they manhandled them, and then the next game was shaky again. So I think they just need to, I don't know what, they need to find some kind of turning point to get everything going. Bologna is not an easy task for sure. So I think they have to go in with the same mentality you had against Napoli and just get right at them, get on the attack, and see if you can put a couple in, and you build off of that, right? You get the confidence up and hopefully keep going from there.
Rohit says in meta game in the start, he noticed that our players trying to press, but they were easily evaded. So he thinks we didn't prepare our tactics well. Do you agree with that, Daniel?
I think the problem with that is that our press was not on properly. It was not done properly. It wasn't fast enough. It wasn't direct enough. The only one you really saw pressing was Morata, but then when Cristiano's coming in off the left, he's got to go an extra distance, and it's easier for them. It's easier for Inter to create space behind those two without McKennie there, who's always, that guy's always moving, and you love to see it. I think that was a big loss for us. But then again, Bentancur and Rabiot look lost. I think if you're going to press and you're going to press high and hard, you have to make sure you're on it. If not, you're going, like we saw, they got picked apart in the midfield. There was space all over the place, and Hakimi and Barella kind of, had a field day on that.
Yeah, they did indeed. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. But let's not talk about that game anymore. Pisses me off right now. Napoli game, yes. I mean, we can see the reaction. We just had to have a reaction, and against Napoli. And the thing is that I saw is particularly Mason, Giorgio Chiellini, and his presence in the defense. During this season, myself, I was very reserved on Chiellini because I thought that, this guy's always injured, and this guy, we just can't keep him healthy. And every time he starts, it was even 2-3 seasons ago, the same thing happened with him. He was playing for 20 minutes and then he was injured again for 3 weeks. But we saw prime Chiellini on Wednesday against Napoli. Do you think that this proves to you that can we rely on Chiellini still, or maybe this is still the last season for Giorgio?
I think that's a really complicated question because he is not. There's never any point where I've thought that he's lost it as a defender. I think he's as good as ever. I just think his body is catching up with him. And I wrote a piece about this like a couple months ago, and Daniel and I actually were talking about this the other day about what a presence he is. And for me, there's a concern of like I don't want him to destroy his knees and be like limping for the rest of his life because he just wanted to push it, for another season. But at the
he
same
destroyed
time,
his nose already, so
that's okay. That's fine.
I wonder if he still has the back mark on his shoulder. No, but I think that it's undeniable how much of a difference that he made. And also, like the same can be said for when Buffon is in goal. They just have this quality about them that we absolutely cannot find without them, where it's just like the back line keeps its shape. I mean, against Napoli, it was amazing. I had seen this picture on, I think it was Reddit or something, of Allegri's defense versus Pirlo's. And Pirlo's was so much more disorganized. And then the second Chiellini steps in, everybody maintains their shape, falls back in unison. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be. And there's got to be a part of it that's vocalization from Chiellini. And there's also a part that I think is just the calming effect that he gives.
I'm sorry. I just need to stop you. This is the second person who says that I'm talking to Rodrigo Bentancur.
Celebrity.
Wow. Arian, nice to see you, my man. Listen, there was another guy further up. If you scroll up, you see that there is somebody else who's saying that I'm talking to Mr. Uruguay. Oh man, that's so funny. I know what you call you now, Daniel. You'll be the new Rodrigo.
Awesome.
Yeah, but back to Chiellini, guys. Yes, and Adam says Chiellini is a classic Ferrari, and that you only bring out once a month when the weather is nice. That is very true. That is very true. But Mason, back on touching a little bit on Chiellini, do you think he has something to offer for the next season as well, or should he just, I don't know, make room for somebody else?
I think that if it was negotiated in the right way, he should absolutely stay. I think he's getting paid like $3 or $4 million a year, which is pretty low comparative to like somebody like Ramsey. If Juve have the funds to keep him on and keep him for big games and keep him for moments where maybe we're looking a little unsure, then absolutely. I mean, there's no reason to not work out a Buffon type deal where he's always there as a presence. I mean, I would think it would be nothing but positive to have him. But I don't think we're ever going to see him be a regular starter for months at a time ever again.
There was the chat section is talking about Demiral as well. Why was question from Tom? Why was Demiral so impressive last season? Let's go to you, Daniel. And why is the hype over? Just to touch on, I don't think the hype is over. I just think it's on standby. I don't know, Daniel, your thoughts on Demiral, and of course the fact that there were rumors that he wanted to leave because he didn't play consistently. But since he's been injured for quite some time, it just kind of didn't make any sense. But Maurice Demiral.
Yeah, it's a tough situation with him because I know he wants to play, and that's great that you have that passion to play and help your teammates and all that. The issue with him is that as soon as he comes back, he'll play a game and then he'll pick up another injury. And how are we supposed to keep giving you playing time when something always seems to occur? Not that I don't think the hype is gone on him. I still think he can be an influential, tough, in-your-face defender, and every team needs a type like that. If he's as good as everyone thinks he's going to be, like, we need to see more of him to really say that. I still think it's too early to critique him as the next, the pairing with De Ligt for the next how many years. I need to see more from him. And he sometimes can get carried away and out of position. He picks up a lot of yellow cards, like we've seen even in the few games he has played. The potential is there, no doubt. I just think if he can get himself healthy and then get some playing time, and if he still doesn't play, then we'll understand more. I'll be more sympathetic to him. But I just need to see more until I can really classify him as a long-term replacement for our defense. And I think with training with Chiellini and De Ligt would actually help him a lot instead of going out, just going to play somewhere else. So.
We didn't even speak about this guy, but Mason, I think we did it last time you were here. The one guy that was probably the most impressive turnaround this season with Andrea Pirlo at the helm was Danilo. We expected not this apparently from Danilo. He was very inconsistent, maybe even injury prone last season, but first and foremost, I haven't seen him injured once this season so far, and he's been playing as one of those back three or back four, whatever you want to call it. But how impressive was he for you? And when everybody is fit, I mean, Demiral, Chiellini, De Ligt, when he's back, where do you put Danilo? Is he on the bench for you, or will he be in a starting lineup?
Well, on your first point, yeah, I mean, he has been incredible this season, and last season he was like one of my least favorite players, honestly. I thought he was pretty bad.
Wow.
But yeah, I think
you liked Khedira better than you did Danilo.
Yeah, you heard it here first. No, yeah, I mean, I think he's incredible. And I used to like kind of roll my eyes whenever I saw him going for the ball, but now he's great. I love the shot that he does like every 3 games where he just boots it from outside the box, and it's we should get the math done on it because I think it's gone in like, I think he scored that goal like 3 times and the entire time he's been at Juve.
Yeah, that foot is surprisingly good. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if everybody was fit right now, Chiellini and De Ligt would be my starting center back pair, and then I think it would be a toss up. Right now, I think Danilo is probably my third choice, but overall, Demiral I think is going to be a better center back. I just think on the subject of him, I just think he's way too temperamental, and like, I mean, him and De Ligt are roughly the same age, but De Ligt has this mental fortitude and maturity that Demiral he doesn't quite have, both in the way he behaves on the pitch and in the way he crumbles under pressure. So I think for now he's probably 4th, and then Bonucci would be last, honestly. Well, ahead of Dragosan and everything. But yeah.
Daniel, do you think that this is this transformation can be pinned to Andrea Pirlo, or is this basically something that Danilo did himself?
I think this is something that Pirlo wants from him specifically. We can see he's got good vision. He can get forward when he needs to, but he also, as that third center back, he kind of tidies up a little bit and makes up for the lack of pace of Bonucci and Chiellini as they're getting up there in age. But I think this position, this half center back, half right back, whatever you want to call it, I think it's really benefited him because he's not necessarily going up that right flank every chance he gets. He's kind of preserving his energy, selecting when he wants to get involved and move up and push up. But also he seems like he's grown defensively. He feels more comfortable when defending. Maybe that's because of Pirlo. Maybe that's because of his partners beside him. No one really knows, but he definitely looks a lot more comfortable. And I think for me, he'd be my, if you're playing a back three, it's going to be him, De Ligt, and Chiellini going forward if everyone is healthy. And then your right side is Cuadrado, Chiesa, whoever you decide to put there.
Yeah, interesting. I think also Danilo's been surprisingly good this season, and the fact that the guy is a Brazilian and improves in defending, that's saying something, because it's not always we can say things about the Brazilians in defense. I mean, it's we can say, for example, Arthur, he is a good player. We saw what he can do against Napoli, but we cannot say that he's a great defender because he isn't. He doesn't have an ounce of his defensive qualities in his body. But Danilo has really proved us wrong. So we'll see. And Al Hassan even says that Danilo starts straight. Yes. All right. That's fine. Question from Aryan. Very interesting one. So it seems like Brian Reynolds, the guy from FC Dallas, guys, his deal is hijacked by Roma. What is your opinion? Since you are basically next door to Mr. Reynolds, Mason.
Yeah.
Are you pissed off since this deal isn't coming through, or are we good to go?
I'm definitely like a little annoyed, partially because the transfer saga was so long, and it was just like, are we going to sign him or not? I mean, he's not that huge of a profile player, so it was kind of like, are we just going to make this move, or are we going to keep talking about it? I think we need a right back very desperately. I don't think, I really wanted Gossens. I mean, Reynolds I don't really like know him that well. I've seen a couple highlights videos of him. He's pretty good, but he's not world class or anything. I'm definitely a little bit annoyed that we didn't sign a right back. It doesn't really particularly matter to me that it was Reynolds or not. As an American, though, I mean, I would have loved to have seen another American join Juve, especially after McKennie. I think we're going to see a lot of that in the future. But yeah, I'm more so annoyed that we just didn't sign a right back than Reynolds or not.
Yeah, I saw the game just for Reynolds' sake. I never do that again. But I watched the MLS game. FC Dallas against Columbus Crew, ended 2-2, and Brian Reynolds was at fault on both goals conceded for FC Dallas. And yes, exactly, his defending is not something that we want to see. So he kind of reminded me of Cuadrado. He was more comfortable going forward, but he was basically crap in defense. And I mean, you can say that this is a marketing move. You can say that this is something that we are thinking about, like a plus valenza. We're buying cheap and selling high. But is this what it is, Daniel? Is this a plus valenza move if Juve were to sign him, or do we actually see something in this guy?
I would have to. I think it would depend on how he did over the next 6 months to 18 months on loan somewhere. I don't think he would have been a short-term fill-in for anyone. He probably would have been on loan at least for 6 months, if not all of next year. He's only 19 or 20, I believe. He would definitely need to work on that defensive aspect. And if he did get a lot better, which is, it's possible, especially, learning Serie A, it's a lot more defensive, not so much defensive, but it's more tactical. He needs to be aware of his positioning more than compared to MLS. So if he would could clean that up a lot. I could see him maybe getting a shot, but then again, I think as of now, it probably would have been more of a plus Valenza to a mid-table Serie A team, to La Liga, something like that. When you're buying, 19, 20-year-olds, chances are not all of them are going to pan out, but you can still turn a profit. So it could have gone either way, I guess.
Yeah, and that's coming back to Paul Pogba. This is the exception we were talking about, buying young, but then actually performing at the club without. And well, he ended up being a plus Valenza, so to speak. But it's more of he was a world class when he left, and when he arrived, he was absolutely nothing. So, yes, indeed, it'd be interesting to see what he does. But of course, we could not sign the guy to play for us because we don't have non-EU spots left at the club for this season. So that's why he would have probably been loaned out to, I don't know, Benevento or something. Yes, Rohit, he says that he doesn't think that one player transfer will make a difference in January with our current squad. What can we change to make a turnaround this season? Let's start with you, Daniel.
I think personally, I don't think you could do much in January that would make a huge impact on this squad. I know people are really high on bringing in Papu Gomez, but like I've said this a few times, he's in his mid 30s. He's only played on Atalanta. Him and Gasperini got along until they got into this argument. Maybe that was, he could be a system player like we've seen before. He could be, he needs Atalanta as much as Atalanta need him, kind of thing. But I'm not sold on that move solely because of his age, and I don't know how he would turn out at Juve. If we're gonna make a move, I still think we're better off making bringing in a striker, whether that's Scamacca or someone a little older, just for short term. I think because if Morata goes down, you're in trouble because you don't have a real number 9 up there if he's out for a long period of time.
Yeah. I agree. And well, to the second question, Mason, for you, what can we do with our current squad that we can, basically turn around this season? Is there something that needs tweaking, or we just need to continue as we are and just grinding and grinding?
I think that we can grind out in every way except for the midfield. I think our defense, we have like plenty of great center backs. I don't think that's an issue. The right back thing, Quadrado is fine for now. And up top, obviously Dybala's been like pretty bad this season, so it's kind of a weird situation. But we have like the tactical flexibility when everybody's fit to do either like Morata as an actual, number 9, or do the false 9 thing with Dybala, or 2 up top, with Ronaldo, whoever.
Yeah.
So I think the real big gaping hole right now is the midfield. And I don't think there's anything we can really do to fix it apart from a rebuild. But I don't think it's that dire. I think so. For example, I think if we were to buy Papu Gomez, I think that would be a really great band-aid for the next 6 months. If the finances,
it's a really expensive band-aid, a very old band-aid.
Yeah, if we could get the deal of a lifetime for like a year contract, that would be awesome. But it's just not going to happen. And I think like a player like that is something that would be a quick fix. But the idea of quick fixing a midfield that is as bad as ours is not really. I don't think it's a good move. I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's a deeper issue in the midfield that goes beyond like the lack of striker or right back. I think those are just missing pieces, whereas the midfield, I think, is pretty much bad to the core.
A good point there from Ari11. Hi, man. By the way, with players coming back on loan, the wage bill is substantial. Yes, indeed, which will make it even harder to make moves, not only this Mercato, but moving forward. Yes, and we are talking about the disaster that is Daniele Rugani, Mattia Di Ciglio, and of course Douglas Costa. And don't forget, we have still one guy in the freezer, freaking cold in the freezer, but he's still there and freezing his ass off, which his German ass is expensive, but
Yeah.
he's still there. 6.5 million we're paying him for being in the freezer, huh? Wow. But the wage bill, yes, is very, very substantial, and not necessarily a good thing if we're gonna go out and purchase or get somebody even. So do we have a problem there, Daniel? The fact that we have Daniele Rugani coming back, Di Ciglio, and I saw today that it was confirmed that Bayern will not renew either loan or buy him back. So Douglas Costa will be coming back. Is this a problem for us, or can we maybe ship them somewhere else?
This
on
is
permanent basis, though.
I see. The thing is, I think the likes of Rugani, as much as he hasn't fulfilled expectations as we hoped, I still feel like we could be able to move him to a mid-table Serie A team fighting for relegation. I feel like they could really use a defender with his experience. You know, he's not half bad. He's just not maybe what Juve expected him to be. The tough one, I think, is going to be moving Douglas Costa. And I say this because he expects, to play as much as possible, to Champions League, to play on a top team. But, he'll play 2 games and then he'll have a hamstring injury keeping him out for 40 days. So I'm not surprised Bayern is not making that permanent. I kind of expected that from the beginning. I think he's probably going to want a decent salary, and who knows what they're going to charge transfer fee wise. It might have to be something minimal just to get him to move. And Di Ciglio is hopefully, you can sell him for a couple million. I think that's doable. I don't think he's terrible. Again, he's just, some of these guys may not be Juve quality as
I think we just need to wait until Allegri gets a team, and then Di Ciglio can just join him there. Yeah, basically, yeah, it's true. I agree, and especially with Rugani, it's an interesting case because he was, as coming back to the talent thing, developing talent. Mm-hmm. He played 38 games for Empoli before joining us. Yep. Didn't even get a yellow card. I remember that very well. The stats was absolutely insane. He played all games, never got a yellow card, and then moved to Juve, and he was playing as a 5th choice. Which is understandable because you had guys like BBC and I think even Benatia was there at the time as well. It's I think even Hövedes did a cameo one season
for 6 months.
And then he got injured or something, and then it never materialized. But Daniele Rugani is Italian. He's still semi-young, so it is doable. Yes, the big issue is, of course, Douglas Costa, and once we move them away, then we can start talking about transfers coming in big, because this is a wage bill we're talking about here, and of course Sami Khedira. Let's see. So yes, Locatelli, we talked about this already, Mr. Doom. We are all for it. 40 million may be a bit of a stretch, says Mason. I agree. However, there is a pattern here. There is a pattern here because every time we deal with somebody, they're always going to overprice the player, like they did with Bernardeschi. Chiesa is an interesting choice because it's just too early to say that he has been expensive, because he might be very well worth it. But with this guy, with Locatelli, 40 million, probably a bit expensive for now, but we'll see. Let's see. Can you guys explain why Juve is after another striker? We have Morata, Cristiano, Kulusevski, and Dybala. I think, Daniel, you answered that already.
Yeah, I just think Morata's the only real number 9 there, and without him, Pirlo's system, it can't operate the same way. You need that focal point, that target man. So that's why I think the number 9 is for something cheap in January is probably a little more realistic goal than bringing in a 30-40 million midfielder.
Yeah, and even Morata is like a weird kind of case because as much as he is just an out-and-out 9, he's not like super strong. He's kind of in between. Like, he likes to go for balls overhead and kind of hold it up. But I think we could get a player who's just like an absolute tank. I was really big on Dzeko. like just a player who can just sit there and hold it up while everybody comes up. Murata isn't really that either. He's kind of a cross between that and something else.
That's why I feel like Scamacca is more of a Murata type than an actual a Dzeko or a Giroud or something like that.
Yeah. Well, Duvan Zapata, there is a tank for you.
That is a tank.
That is
He's a
absolutely is a unit. You know, him and Lukaku. And as much as Lukaku surprised most of fans, but I mean, I always knew that when he arrives at Merda to play for them, and Conte will be the coach. I mean, you use him. You use the guy for his strengths. His strength is his physique, and I don't think Manchester United used him correctly. So now this is Lukaku would have been great for us, to be honest, in this situation. Of course, very freaking expensive, but it'd be interesting if he arrived at Juve and well, we have your answer. Then you have a tank up front, basically. Yeah, astonishing that Khedira doesn't even play, says Rohit. Doesn't even want to play football somewhere else. Even Mesut Özil moved on now. Yes. True. Yeah. Well. Yeah, it is true. It is true. Maybe I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the issue is with Khedira, Mason? And why doesn't he want to move?
I mean, I think it's this complicated thing of like, I mean, we screwed up with the contract a lot of the times, like with the one we gave to Pita and stuff, and like. I think with Khedira, I think I don't want to say he's like seeing money signs because that's like a little bit too much personal thing, but like I think that for him, I think that he knows that he can go on afterwards and play somewhere. But I think for him, it's comfortable to see out the contract. And I think that he wasn't the one who, I mean, from his perspective, Juve made the stupid move by giving him all this money for a contract and then deciding that they don't want him. And I think that in a way that's right. Yeah, I think he just feels like, well, I mean, they asked me to stay here, so I'm going to stay here until I can walk, because I don't think he's going to get that good of a contract at the next place that he goes. But I think he's got a couple more years left in like the Super League or something. Who knows?
Yeah. It was probably one of the last things Beppe Marotta did before leaving us. Was extending the contract of Khedira and then see ya.
Yeah,
suckers. Oh man, still there at the club. But I gotta say, he still tweets about Fino alla fine, and it doesn't seem that he has any issues being on the sidelines. So yeah, but it gotta tell you something, huh, guys? When you field Portanova instead of Khedira, if you are Khedira and you see this, I mean, there is no future for you here.
Yeah, that's as clear as it gets.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Imagine Camavinga and Pogba in the midfield. Camavinga, Daniel, do you know of the guy?
I have. I've seen a couple highlights. I don't really follow the French league that much, but he's 17 or 18 and already made his debut for France, I believe. He's a really good, I guess, holding defensive midfielder type of player. I don't see this happening. If anything, I see him going to a PSG or maybe in Spain somewhere. Would he fit in Serie A? Probably. Would I see him and Pogba working together at Juve? Probably not. I know we have our we're scouting other players, like we mentioned Locatelli. De Paul, I think, is also a very good option for about the same price. And that's another thing. Like you want Papu Gomez or De Paul, who's a lot younger, who can offer pretty much the same thing Papu's going to offer you. So I think that's something they're going to have to think about come this summer.
Yeah, De Paul is an interesting case. Him and Andrea Bellotti are kind of in the same situation as well.
Yeah.
They are, no doubt, they are a star of their club, but you kind of think that this must be the season that they move either Bellotti or De Paul, and especially with De Paul is very interesting because he is good friends with Paulo Dybala and is Argentinian and has those characteristics that we would like at our club. We badly need in the midfield. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I don't see any rumors of him going to Juve, which is a bit of a shame for now. But you never know. You never know. We should go after a young one, striker like Moise Ken, says Ariane. Yes, letting Ken go was one of the biggest mistakes in Sarri management. Mason, do you agree?
That's a great question, because I think there was some like mentality issues with him, and I know that he needs playing time right now in his career, I think, in order to get to the point where he's going to be at his best. And I don't know if he could have gotten that with us, is the thing. If he, well, maybe if he had stayed, we wouldn't have signed Murata, you know, and that would have been an interesting alternative timeline. Yeah, maybe we could have loaned him out instead of selling him, because he's definitely has like really a high ceiling. But I think for him, he needed to start being a first team member, or at least getting more regular starting time to be to mature. I mean, he was showing us that he was really good whenever he came on. I mean, the first like 3 games that he came on, he scored. He's great, you know. I don't know how he's doing at PSG, though. I haven't really been following him.
Well, he's banging in goals. That's that's the interesting fact. Daniel, were you surprised that he's doing that at PSG and struggled? Let's face it, he flopped in at Everton, and now he's banging in goals with Neymar and Mbappe, which is crazy.
I'm not surprised, actually, because you know he has the talent. You know, he's physical, he's fast, he's got some good skill. I just think maybe the EPL is not his type of style. Maybe he was expected to do something that he was not really used to, but now you bring him on a PSG with a team that's stacked in attack, and you know they kind of feed each other, they complement each other, and I think that's done a lot for him and his confidence. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues this scoring that that Mancini carries him to the Euros come the summertime as a depth option. You never know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, Harsh. Yes, hi man. Just drop a question for us, and also guys, if you're watching this, just smash like on this very video. Yes, Moise Kean is very, very interesting case, and you could also argument that he's a system player, you know, because you have those guys on each flank, and he kind of complemented those guys perfectly. Neymar and Mbappe. He is a completely different player to those guys. He's more of a prima punta type of player. So yeah, it's interesting to follow his future, and don't be surprised if he returns at some point in future. And we'll see what his dad thinks about it, because I hear that his dad is a little bit, well, I don't know, pissed off that Moise Kean is not including him in his fandom. I don't know. Funny. Yeah, but that's a good point, Arian. Yes, Moise Kean is a good shout. Christian Eriksen is 28. Yes, he is. I wanted him at Juve. Do you think he would have been any good? Rohit asks that question. Mason, let's start with you. I mean, Christian Eriksen completely flopped, let's say, for Merda. Let's just say it like it is. Do you think it would be any different for him at Juve if he arrives?
I think so. Like before he went to Merda, and when he was at Tottenham, everybody, I remember, for like a very brief period of time was like, Eriksen is what we need. Eriksen is the key. And I heard a lot of people saying that like that was the difference between us and, like, you know, the Champions League finals and the Champions League trophy. And I didn't really buy into that. I think he's a phenomenal player. I just think that, you know, like, we can't just, a player like him won't just solve everything. You need strong defenders too. And I think that had he come from Tottenham to Juve, he might have just flopped. I mean, maybe it's Italy, maybe he's just not working in Italian football. But I think I would be interested if his price really went down from his flop at Merda. I think that would be cool to grab him, but I just don't know what that's going to come with. I feel like there's a massive expectation that he's going to return to form, and he might just never recreate what he did at Tottenham. You know, I mean, he's 28. Yeah, like as that user pointed out. I mean, he's getting on. You know, he's not like a young guy anymore. And if he's not working at Merda, you know, a year and a half of that might be enough to just end his career. You know, or not end his career, but we might never see him like he was at Tottenham again.
Daniel, do you see any similarities between Christian Eriksen move and Aaron Ramsey move to Juve? Because basically both came from Premier League. Neither of those guys speak Italian. I don't think Eriksen spoke Italian before he went to Merda. But it seems like Aaron Ramsey succeeded more. Why is that, do you think?
Well, him succeeding more, I wouldn't really say that's a big shout, because neither of them have really done much. But I the only reason I think Ramsey has done a little better than Eriksen is because the likes of Sarri and Pirlo have allowed Ramsey to give a little more of a free role, to roam a little bit, to cut in off the side, to be more attacking. Whereas Conte is very stuck in his system and his tactics, and he'll never change from that 3-5-2. Him trying to implement Eriksen, who's not a defensive first type of midfielder. He's more, he's a real attacking midfielder, and he needs to play in that position to be his best. It was just hard from the beginning. It was hard to see where he was going to fit into that lineup. And I think now, like as the months continue on, we're seeing that more and more, that if he can leave, it's probably best for him to leave and find a new home before, like Mason said, maybe he'll never refine that that chemistry, that his form from before at Tottenham.
Yeah. I mean, with Aaron Ramsey, it's well, Aaron Ramsey scored against Merda. What do you want me to say? So he's already successful. I mean, yeah, I get your point. Yes, and the fact that I saw that further up in the chat, people wanting Ramsey axed from Juve in order to bring in something different. Yeah, fine, but then again, people need to bid and to offer us money, because what the world is in the COVID crisis right now, and very few clubs have money. Which is a shame, because we need cash to facilitate those Pogba deals that you want, and Cristiano renewal and whatever. Yeah, but Ari says would be great to see Felix Correa from our under 23 side. Yes, it would. Exciting player, but the thing is with Pirlo this season especially, he offered more playing time to youngsters like Frabotta, mixed success, and Radu Dragozin and Portanova, who went to Genoa now. So there is only one, and Wesley, of course, playing in the Copa, and now Felix Correa also was on the bench. But is this because, Daniel, let's go to you. Do you think this is because of COVID? Andre Pirlo allows these youngsters to play basically because, well, we didn't sign any big profile players, and now we need to rotate because we have so many fixtures, especially in January. So we need to bring in youth in order to basically field a good side. Or is it basically Pirlo going, you know what, if you're good enough, you're old enough?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I'm sure Pirlo would have liked to have a little more experienced options, but I also think he's trying to get back to giving the youth an opportunity to showcase what they have. Obviously, you can't do that every game, you can't do that every week, whatever. But the likes of Portanova, Frabotta, Dragussin, they've all had a couple chances here and there, and we've seen at times they can fit in, at sometimes they show their inexperience. The Correa, I know, has lit up the under 23 side, I believe, and he's a very good attacking young player. The problem is I just don't see where he will fit, as he's more of a winger. I don't see where he's going to fit into this current Pirlo system. But you never know going into the future, if he continues to play the way he is, maybe he'll get a shot like the rest of them. You don't know.
Yeah. exciting player for sure. And I liked what I saw from Wesley at the beginning of the game, but then he got completely exposed defensively. But yeah, we see some promise from under 23s, but I doubt that any of those guys will really strengthen our team. Just, well, for the moment at least. We'll see what happens in the future. All right, guys, we are closing into the end, but before we close down this stream, we need to talk about Juve against Bologna, which is a lunchtime game for us in Europe, which is a bit of an interesting one because it's the middle of the night for you. Funnily enough, but let's talk about Juve against Bologna and what to expect. Hi, Mark, by the way. Nice to see you. We are talking about Juve Bologna. Mason, let's go to you. Give me your lineup. What would you like to see against Bologna?
I'd like to see. Is Sandro going to be back by then?
I don't think so.
Well, we don't know. Do we now?
Yeah, I guess we won't know basically.
Let's assume that he won't be back.
Yeah. I guess I'd like to see Chiellini, Bonucci, and Quadrado, and on the left, I guess Rabada. And then in the midfield, I really want to see Arthur get some more playing time because we know that he's good, and I think that he was pretty good against Napoli. So I'd like to see him maybe with Bentancur or McKennie. But I think the Bentancur-Arthur partnership has some potential. I think that could be a really good pairing together. And I'd like to see Chiesa on the right, of course, and Ramsey on the left, and then Ronaldo and Morata up top.
It looks like Chiesa probably will not be fit for this game because he picked up the injury against Napoli.
Oh, I thought it was just
no, it's he's been tested, so we'll see what happens. But it doesn't look good, so probably it is gonna be Quadrado, but we'll see. What's your take on Bologna's game, Daniel? The lineup wise, it's okay. We did with Mason, but Artur, for example, can he play? Basically 2 games in a row, because we've barely seen this guy play 2 games in a row. He played 120 minutes against Genoa, and then he was benched against Merda. And you could make the case that, unfortunately, probably we should have never done that. Probably he should have played against Merda in order to provide that stability in the midfield. But he played against Napoli. Should he also start against Bologna?
For me, I'm going to say yes. You got to go with the hot hand. I thought he was probably one of our better players against Napoli. He really, the way he holds on to possession, it can dribble out of trouble, relieving a bit of pressure on the defense. He has great vision. His first pass is usually pretty spot on. For me, if he's good to go, he's a start for me, and see how that goes, see if he can handle it. He's still fairly young. He hasn't played much, so he should have enough energy to play again. Like Mason said, I'm going to go with Bentancur beside him also, but I'm thinking Bernardeschi's going to get the start on the left. He impressed me against Napoli when he came on halftime. And if you can get more from him out of in similar positions, in similar crosses and things like that, I think you got to give him some more playing time, especially if you're thin on the left side, which it looks like we are for the next. Who knows when Sandro and Chiesa will be fit again.
Yeah. And who do you play up front? Do you go with Morata or Kulusevski? Because obviously Cristiano will play.
Yeah, I'm gonna go since Kulusevski started midweek. I'm gonna go with Morata to start, and then maybe consider bringing him later in the second half. Get some fresh legs. Hopefully you scored a few goals and you can take one of the attackers off and get Kulusevski in there to get some playing time. I liked what I've seen. I feel like he's growing a little more throughout the season. They're finding out where his better positioning is. He's obviously not a right midfielder, right wing back, so he's better, more central and attacking defenders.
Mason, do you go with Cristiano and Morata, or Cristiano or Kulusevski? And what do you think is the best pairing? I hate to sound like a fanboy right now, but what do you think is best for Cristiano?
No, I think that's a legitimate question, especially right now. I think, I'm really excited to see what Kulusevski, what he develops into, even in the short term of like this season. I think that he needs to get some more minutes, but I think that for right now, I just think Morata should play. I think he's been more effective, and I just don't think we're quite at the point where we can like experiment and attack that much. And I think Kulusevski should come on pretty early, like maybe right on the 60th minute, to get him as much playing time as possible, but only if we're comfortable. And I'm kind of curious to see. I like the idea of playing him more centrally, and I think that him and Ronaldo could be a really good partnership. I think that there is something there. But yeah, Morata's just he's too good to bench right now.
We didn't even mention this, but Daniel, do you start with Buffon or Wojciech?
Oh, you know what? I think I'd actually give. I'd give Buffon the start. Tech has played. He played Sunday. He played Wednesday. Maybe give Buffon a go. The defense doesn't look. Sometimes they even look better with Buffon back there. Maybe his personality, the way he's not quiet back there. He's very demanding, or commanding, I should say. And I think Buffon's been good when he's been called upon. So give Tech a rest. Doesn't hurt. We have a lot of games coming up the next month, 2 months, whatever it is. So you're gonna need both. So give him a shot, see how it goes.
Wait, no Pinsolio, huh?
Oh, maybe if we had like a 10-point lead, I'd consider it.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to be in Pinsolio's shoes sometimes?
He's got the greatest life ever.
He's got a great gig, man.
He went to Ronaldo New Year's Eve. It was him, his wife Georgina, and Ronaldo all chilling.
Well, you never chill at Cristiano's house, that's for sure. They probably did reps and sprints around the house. Oh, I remember. I don't know if you heard the story from Patrice Evra.
Yeah.
When he was visiting Cristiano's place, and Cristiano was like, "Yeah, let's go touch after a 2-hour session." And Patrice, we just went training session. Come on, we were enjoying ourselves. No, let's go touch. And then they ate like steamed chicken and salad. Yeah, it was crazy. So never go to Cristiano's house. It's a funny. There is an interview with Patrice Evra about that one. So check that out on YouTube. It's funny. Very, very funny. We need our GOAT Lord Pinsolio if you want to win, says Mark. Yeah, wow. Last game of the season, my friend. He will be there for sure. He will be there. Okay, guys, we end up the session, but we also, of course, need to do predictions for the Sunday's game. This is a must-win, of course, because we screwed up already before the Christmas break. So we have no more mistakes to make. So yes, I hope they know. I expect that they know this, and they will go out there bombing and scoring goals. But Mason, prediction and your goal scorers.
I think we're gonna keep clean sheet. And I think that.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just because Bologna hasn't been very potent in attack recently. I just pulled up the table. They've drawn their past 3 matches. So I'm hoping we get 2. I think Cristiano's going to score a brace.
Oh, interesting. Daniel.
It's fun. I was going to say a 2-0 win also, but I was going to say Morata first and a Ronaldo sealer at like the 87th minute or something. That was going to be my guess.
Oh, so we're gonna.
It's going to be another late.
Nervous. Yeah. Oh. For 80 minutes, we're gonna be like going crazy, and then there will be a Cristiano brace, or goal at the end of the game. Yeah, maybe a PK. A questionable
Maybe.
PK.
Maybe.
Yeah.
all
By the
we
way, guys, what do you think about the penalty kick that McKennie? McKennie fouled Mertens, and it was deemed a penalty. Do you think it was a PK, Mason?
I think it was the correct call. I think it was probably the most like I'm trying to think of the word. Like I want to say like scummy, but like it was like tactical scummy. It was like
you can say scummy. It's Napoli, so it's okay.
Yeah, that was pretty much. Yeah, I mean, why can't you just play better instead of bending the rules so you can get a goal?
Bending the rules, Napoli, huh? Yeah. Daniel, what do you think? Was it PK or?
I see. Seeing it was. I think it was very soft, and I think Mertens sold it completely as much as possible. But I've seen worse given, and I also think McKinney just needs to be a little quicker moving that ball. He took his time, and it kind of caught up with him. But yeah, it was soft, and I'm sure Napoli fans would say, "Oh, Juve would get that call too." So I won't even argue it. It's we turned out okay, so it is what it is.
It is what it is indeed, yes. And we won the Supercoppa, another trophy in the bag. Last question, guys, before we end this. Do you think this will be our only trophy this season? Tough one.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Oh, good. Mason, please do tell. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just holding out hope. I think that the Scudetto is still ours for the taking if we really get if we get back on track. And I think that there's a lot of factors in Milan's run that are, I mean, they're kind of like having a fairy tale run right now, and that could just stop at any moment. I think that people are kind of like, there's some magic element to it, and that could run out at any moment. And I think Merda, so I'm not going to win it,
but that's basically you answer your question. Yeah, well done. Yeah. Daniel,
are we including Coppa Italia in this trophy? Considering it a trophy,
yeah.
I think honestly that might be our best chance at winning another trophy this year. I think it's going to be very tough to come back in Serie A. Champions League, of course, is a whole other beast. And it's not that I don't trust Milan and Inter to drop points. I know they will. I'm just not sold on our consistency yet. And I know we've seen it time and time again. So that's my main concern.
Yeah. Amer says definitely won't be getting anything this season. Wow. Unless we luck out in the Champions League. Yeah. Champions League. That's the big dream for all fans.
We got Spal in Coppa Italia, so if we can't beat them, then
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I've been saying this for months now. It doesn't matter who we face. We are our own worst enemy. We can face everybody, and we can win against anybody. But we can also draw against likes of Crotone, Benevento, and freaking Parma. Was it? No, Hellas Verona. Yeah.
Yes, Hellas.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so very much for joining this stream, guys. Smash a like on this video before you leave, and also follow Daniel on his Twitter page. I will write this down just a second. If I'm not sure, man. What's your at? I'm sorry, Daniel.
It's DANIELE LUCC. Daniel
LUCC.
Daniel.
There we go.
Search me up. Yeah.
This is Daniel at, and of course the last one, Mason.
Oh, just VESI blog. Yeah, and Daniel just wrote a piece for my blog that was really cool. Yeah. You guys should check it out.
Yes, cool you did. Yeah, well done. Yeah, all right. So follow those two. And we'll see you on the pre-match live, of course, on Sunday when we face Bologna, and also after the game. And probably we'll do a go preview as well. Daniel, pleasure finally talking to you. And Mason, of course, always nice. And we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll do it another time. Maybe we'll watch the game together on the La Panchina. We'll see. We'll see, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Have a great weekend.